Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. In Romans chapter 4, the main theme is that of faith. The Apostle Paul had just made the case that a person is justified by faith and not through the works of the law. And now he's going to put forth a witness or an example of Abraham, a person that the Jews would have very much revered, and put Abraham forth as an example of a person who is justified by faith because he believed in the promise of God and it was accredited to him as righteousness before he was circumcised, even before the law. And so it wasn't through the works of the law of Moses that he was justified. It was through his faith in the promise of God. And that's kind of the point of chapter 4. But what that does is it brings to the forefront the idea of faith. And within this chapter, towards the end of it, we have a description of the faith of Abraham. There he's referring to, that is, the Apostle Paul is referring to the time in which Abraham was promised to have or to become the father of many nations. And when that promise came, it was at a time in which Abraham and his wife were not able to produce any children. And so, despite that, Abraham believed God. And it was accredited to him as righteousness. And it's within that context that Paul writes these words. In verse 18 of Romans 4, it says, "In hope against hope he believed, so that he might become the father of many nations, according to that which had been spoken, so your descendants shall be." So in hope against hope, he believed. And then it says in verse 19, "Without becoming weak in faith, he contemplated his own body, now as good as dead, since he was about 100 years old, and the deadness of Sarah's womb." So he didn't ignore the situation. He didn't ignore the fact that they were not able to bear children. But it continues on in verse 20, "Yet, with respect to the promise of God, he did not waver in unbelief, but grew strong in faith, giving glory to God, and being fully assured that what God had promised, he was able also to perform. Therefore, it was also credited to him as righteousness." So this becomes a beautiful picture of what it means to live by faith or to walk by faith. And it not only applies to the grand theme of salvation and justification by faith and all these other things that Paul has been dealing with in the earlier chapters, but it can also apply to our day-to-day lives, because it's a very good description of what faith is generally, not just specifically when it comes to being accredited or having righteousness accredited to an individual. As we go through our day-to-day life, as we encounter various situations, perhaps very difficult situations, very contrary situations, we have a choice to make, as Abraham had a choice to make. In his situation, he had a choice between focusing on his situation and the fact that he and his wife were not able to bear children, or focus on a God who transcends his situation and who is able to bring about what he had promised. And Abraham chose to focus on God. Again, he didn't ignore the fact that he and his wife were not able to bear children, but even though he knew that, he placed his ultimate trust in the fact that the God who made the promise was also the one who was able to perform what he promised. And that's a very concise description of faith and what it means to live by faith. What it means is that each and every day, as we encounter various situations and circumstances, we have a choice to make ourselves. Are we going to focus just on those circumstances? Are we just going to focus on how difficult it is or how hard it is to try to manage through various relationships or other financial situations perhaps, or other struggles that we might have? Are we just going to focus on those situations? Or will we do like Abraham and look up to the God who transcends our situations and circumstances, and the one that we can truly trust in and place our faith in? A faith that trusts in the Lord is one that focuses on the Lord throughout all of life's circumstances. And that's what Abraham teaches us here in his story in Genesis, and then in the description of his life in Romans chapter 4, and the description of his faith in Romans chapter 4. And so today, what are we going to do? hopefully we'll make the choice to lift up our eyes to the Lord, to lift our eyes up to heaven, to lift up our eyes to the God who transcends our situations and our circumstances, the one who is able to accomplish everything that he promises, the one who is able to come to our aid, to bring us comfort and strength to get through any situation we might encounter. And the more and more we lift our eyes up to him, and the less and less we direct our eyes towards the hardships and the difficulties we're going through, the more and more our faith will increase. And the more and more we'll be able to go through those situations with more confidence, with more boldness as well. And so let's make the choice today to lift our eyes up to the Lord, to trust in him, and to know that he has everything in full supply to get us through all the situations and circumstances of this life. So with that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.